Welcome back to the UK Senior Insights, your trusted source for the latest updates on pensions, benefits, and vital government changes that affect millions of households across the country. Today's story is one of the most urgent warnings to come from the Department for Work and Pensions in recent months, and it is one that no pensioner can afford to ignore. The DWP has just issued a statement that could impact millions of seniors, especially those born before 1960. According to this warning, changes in the pension system could see some older people lose up to £150 from their annual pension payments. At first glance, that might sound like a modest amount, but for those already struggling under the weight of rising energy bills, soaring food prices, and the constant burden of healthcare costs, this cut represents a blow that could threaten day-to-day survival. Why does this matter so much? Because pensions are not simply numbers on a balance sheet. They are a lifeline, the financial foundation that millions of older Britons rely on just to keep going. Every pound matters, and every reduction in entitlement translates directly into lost meals, colder homes, and increased anxiety. £150 might mean a week's groceries for one household, a month's worth of heating for another, or even vital medication that keeps someone well enough to live independently. When viewed from this perspective, the DWP's warning is not just a bureaucratic adjustment. It is a direct threat to dignity, security, and peace of mind for a generation that has already weathered decades of economic and political upheaval. The DWP insists that these adjustments are necessary to keep the pension system sustainable. With people living longer and more retirees drawing on public funds than ever before, officials argue that tough choices must be made. They claim that trimming supplementary benefits will help protect the triple lock guarantee on state pensions, without collapsing the entire system under financial strain. But critics argue that this is nothing more than another hidden cut, one that falls hardest on those who can least afford it. Campaigners call it deeply unfair to target seniors who contributed for decades, only to be told that in their final years, their benefits are shrinking. So who exactly is at risk? The warning specifically affects seniors born before 1960, many of whom fall into what experts call transitional pension categories. These are people caught between two systems, the old state pension rules that applied before April 2016, and the new state pension framework introduced afterwards. The differences between these two systems are complex, but the bottom line is simple: some pensioners will see their benefits reduced, delayed, or even frozen depending on their contribution record, their income level, and the type of benefits they receive. Those on the old basic state pension face the greatest risk, especially women born in the 1950s, the so-called Waspi generation, who have already borne the brunt of previous pension age increases. Many of these women were forced to work longer than expected after sudden changes to the pension age, and now they are being told that their benefits may be cut once again. Pensioners with partial contribution records are also vulnerable, as are disabled retirees who rely on additional supplements, such as pension credit or cost of living top-ups. For them, the loss of £150 a year could mean the difference between scraping by and falling into real hardship. Where does this figure of £150 come from? Analysts explain that under the new rules, certain benefit supplements, such as the winter fuel payment, pension credit adjustments, or additional cost of living payments, may be reduced or even withdrawn for some groups. When these changes are calculated across an entire year, the result is around £150 in lost income. Again, this might seem insignificant to a wealthy retiree with private savings, but for someone living on just £200 a week, it represents nearly 10% of their disposable monthly income. That is the equivalent of 3 weeks' worth of groceries, or a month of electricity bills for a modest home. To understand the real impact, let's consider some examples. Margaret, born in 1957 and living in Birmingham, has already been struggling with rising heating costs. For her, The cut means she will be forced to choose between keeping her home warm and putting fresh food on the table. Alan, aged 63 from Newcastle, expected his state pension and winter fuel allowance to cover his bills, but the reduced entitlement leaves him short every single month. His only option may be to dip into what little savings he has, funds he was hoping to save for emergencies. These are not hypothetical numbers. They are the lived reality of pensioners who worked hard all their lives, only to find themselves punished in retirement. Regional differences add another layer of confusion and frustration. While the DWP sets the core framework for pensions, devolved governments in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland sometimes offer additional support. That means pensioners born before 1960 may face very different outcomes depending on where they live. For example, Scotland currently provides slightly more generous fuel allowances, softening the blow for some households. Meanwhile, in England, pensioners may feel the full force of the cuts. This creates anger and resentment as seniors compare their situations with neighbours across borders, leading to a growing sense of unfairness in a system that is supposed to treat citizens equally. This warning also ties directly into the ongoing debate about the state pension age. Already set to rise to 67 by 2028, and with further increases being considered for the 2030s, millions of people are being told they must work longer before they qualify for their pension. For those born before 1960, many of whom have already been caught in transitional changes, the news of further cuts feels like adding insult to injury. Women in particular, especially those affected by the Waspi campaign, see this as yet another betrayal. First, they were told to wait longer for their pensions. Now, when they finally reach eligibility, the amount they receive is being cut back. The ripple effects of these cuts extend far beyond individual households. Pensioners are not hoarders of wealth. They spend their income locally, in shops, markets, and small businesses that rely heavily on their trade. When millions of seniors lose £150 a year, it quietly drains billions from local economies. The knock-on effect could hurt high streets already struggling to survive. There are also public health consequences. Seniors with less money often end up living in colder homes, eating less nutritious food, and suffering more stress. Over time, this worsens health outcomes and increases pressure on the NHS, potentially costing the government more in medical care than it saves through the cuts. Unsurprisingly, pensioner groups, charities, and campaigners are fighting back. Age UK has branded the changes a hidden cut that unfairly penalises seniors. The Waspi campaign continues to highlight the disproportionate impact on women born in the 1950s. Petitions are already gathering thousands of signatures, and some MPs, especially those representing constituencies with large numbers of older residents, are voicing their opposition. With an election on the horizon, this issue could easily become a political flashpoint. Pensioners are a powerful voting bloc, and governments ignore them at their peril. So what can seniors do now? The first step is to check your entitlements. Speak directly with the DWP, or use online pension calculators to see if you are affected. Budgeting for a possible shortfall is wise, and for those who qualify, applying for pension credit can help offset some of the loss. Pension credit is a gateway benefit that can unlock access to additional support such as council tax reductions, free TV licenses for those over 75, and warm home discounts. Seniors should also stay informed and engaged, writing to MPs, joining campaigns, and signing petitions to increase pressure on the government. And finally, don't overlook other available discounts, from local transport passes to supermarket schemes and council schemes that can make a big difference. The DWP's warning is serious. A cut of £150 might look small on paper, but in real life, it could push many older people into hardship. This is not just about money. It is about fairness, dignity, and respect for those who built the country and now depend on it to protect them in retirement. As we approach October 2025, staying informed and prepared is absolutely crucial. The debate over pensions will continue, but one thing is certain: pensioners cannot afford to stay silent. If you were born before 1960, or if your parents or grandparents fall into this group, make sure they know about these changes. Share this update with them, help them check their entitlements, and remind them that they are not alone. And if you value being kept up to date on these vital issues, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Here at UK Senior Insights, we bring you the latest updates from the DWP, HMRC, and beyond, so you never miss important news that could affect your income and well-being. The government may insist that these cuts are about sustainability, but pensioners know the truth. Every pound lost represents another sacrifice, another struggle, and another reminder that the system is not working for them. The question now is whether these voices will be heard before it's too late.